Good evening and welcome to The Big Fight, the show that is young at 21, the oldest running debate show on Indian television. I'm Sachin Pilot. One thought that the only crisis we should all be hearing and talking about must be the corona crisis, right? Coronavirus crisis. But it seems that in Rajasthan, a very existential crisis is playing out. For the Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot, it is a crisis to make sure that his government survives. For Sachin Pilot, it is an existential crisis to prove himself as a young, restless disruptor who can shape his ambitions. And for the BJP to continue to prove that it has no role to play in whipping up this desert storm. Resort politics is back, so is the legal battle. Now even the cops are fighting. In fact, I was just trying to note down the otherwise normally predictable Rajasthan politics has now become a blockbuster. You've got tapes, royalty, Hindi medium, good looks, ambition, jealousy, silence. I'm sure someone must be thinking of making a movie. But all of this would not have happened had a house been in order. The mismanagement of expectation, ambition, protracted holding on to power, the age-old Congress debate of young guard versus old guard. So on the big fight tonight, we debate. The desert storm continues. Gehlot is not out of the woods yet. Please don't believe for once that Gehlot is out of the woods. But there continues to be an existential challenge for pilots and the questionable role of the Bharatiya Janata Party in this crisis. The ambition versus ideology debate is going to begin in just a short moment from now. You've got rebellion, tapes, drama. You've got it all in this story. And also on the show, the youngest to get the latest elevation in the Congress. He comments on expectation and ambition management of the young Turks. Ambition versus ideology will be joined in by the working Gujarat Congress chief, Hardik Patel. He's going to be live with us in just a short moment. So let's kickstart the big fight. Let me introduce my guests this evening. I've got Lalita Kumaramangalam, Director of the India Foundation and member of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Dr. Manoj Rajoria is a BJP Lok Sabha member from Karoli, Dholpur in Rajasthan. Yogendra Yadav, National President of Swaraj India. Thank you so much to the three of you. In just a short moment, we'll be joined in by our other guests as well. As is the format of the show, to allow everyone to make their initial comments, we call this segment the first punch. Lalita Kumaramangalam, let's begin with you. Your 1 minute time begins now.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. In this question of ambition versus ideology, my point is that it does not need to be either or. All political parties in a democracy would like to come to power. And given that India is the youngest country in the world, to say that a young man or woman should not have ambitions, political ambitions, is, I think, quite ridiculous. Now, ambition or ideology should never be the question. It should be ideology which also has a fair dose of ambition in it. Any party would like to come to power, where it's again a question of numbers in a democracy. In this case, I think, given the fact that Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister at the age of 40, Rahul Gandhi himself became an MP well before he was 40 years old, and there are many other stories that we can give you about people in the Congress who made it on the basis not only of their family connections, but on the basis of ideology and ambition. We can start with even Jawaharlal Nehru, but the fact is that any party should have youngsters who have both ambitions and are driven by ambition and based on ideology.
The 1 minute time is over. Kumar Ketkar is also with us, Rajya Sabha MP of the Congress Party. So is Jaiveer Shergill, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Thank you so much to the two of you. Let's start with you, Mr. Kumar Ketkar. Your 1 minute time begins now.
Yeah, most people join politics not only for power and self-interest. Many of them earlier, even now, join out of idealism. Ideology comes after you have certain ideals in life, ideals in politics, ideals in society. Those ideals define the ideology and those ideals define your objective. So the ambition has to be the ideological or idealistic ambition. When ambition becomes personal and personal power seeking, then it becomes counterproductive. So I am not against ambition per se. Of course, ambition must be ideological, as many communists in Bengal, many communists in Kerala, many communists all over the world, and many perhaps ideological people in other countries with different ideologies have joined for ideological ambitions, not personal self-interest ambition.
Okay, Mr. Ketkar has finished 10 minutes early. Jaiveer Shergill, before I come to you, Dr. Manoj Rajoria, BJP MP, let me allow you your 1 minute of opening comments. Dr. Rajoria.
Sir, I think Congress have full of ambition as well as loss of ideology. Having full of ambition is his party. Everybody has their own ambitions instead of the party and ambition of the public and the country. And ideology, earlier Congress had ideology, but at present for the few last years they have lost ideology. So in Rajasthan battle, there is scene of the battle between ambition and ideology, but between Congress only, sir.
All right. Jaiveer Shergill, spokesperson of the Congress party, your first punch.
I think this entire Rajasthan episode, which has proved that behind the Rajasthan Bagawat is BJP led by Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, has proved that BJP's sole ideology is to usurp power using the double barrel gun of money and muscle. Imagine the irony that BJP's ideology is not service of the people, but fulfilling their personal ambition and greed to remain in power at any cost. At the time when the corona has hit 10 lakh cases, China is at chilling its heels in our borders. BJP during the lockdown did not work towards bringing the spread of the corona down, but instead is working towards bringing Congress governments down. Today, BJP is in the dock, caught red-handed, being the scripter, manufacturer, distributor, supplier of the plot and the arsenal to destabilize democracy.
Okay, Yogen Yadav, I've been waiting to hear Mr. Yadav's view on this ongoing Rajasthan crisis. Your home state is host to many of those rebels. Yogen Yadav, your opening comments.
Sanket, I don't know why we are giving it such an abstract cover. Honestly, I'm not partisan to this debate of Mr. Pilot versus Mr. Gehlot. This is a pure, unadulterated power struggle with no principle or social message attached to it. So I don't see why we should be participating in that vicarious factional disputes that Congress party has always had. To my mind, what is important is this. To my mind, what's happening in Congress is important only to the extent to which it matters to what is happening to the country. Right now, democracy is being rolled up. Democracy is dying in this country. And at that moment, if the largest opposition party seems to be unraveling, that should concern anyone. And especially if it is unraveling in a way in which center and ruling party also has a hand. And if it appears that no opposition ruled state is safe, then it should be a matter of concern for everyone. So let's debate larger things, not individual.
No, absolutely. We are going to cover all aspects. We've got a lot of time. We'll do that. Dr. Manoj Rajoria, let's begin the big fight. I want to ask you this question. A lot has been said from the BJP camp. You yourself have been defending the BJP's position. You seem to suggest that the BJP has no role to play. This is actually an internal fight, internal feud between the Congress party. And the Congress is losing its grip. It has lost the plot. It is about to evaporate, no longer exist. I'm not getting into that. But there seem to be some clear markers that there is a BJP imprint in this fight. And we've discussed this in the past. Let me list them out for you. A hotel in BJP-ruled Haryana, guarded by Mr. Khattar's police. Rajasthan cops not allowed, in fact outnumbered, and then later after much haggling, finally allowed. Right? Lawyers who are always traditionally seen to be close to this dispensation in the center, they being used to fight the legal battle for Mr. Sachin Pilot and the rebels. And most importantly, the sudden development of a heart, the bleeding heart that the BJP has for Sachin Pilot and the rebels. I mean, you're talking so much about them. Dr. Rajoria.
Ankit, first of all the drama and the script written in Rajasthan only by Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. And he is the main director, script writer, character, whatever you can name him. But all the dreams and this script written by the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Mr. Ashok Gehlot. By this script of the last 1 week, he have damaged his party leaders only and blaming the BJP without any facts. Even the tape today released by SOG or whatever you can say, absolutely fraud and false tape and making allegation of our senior leader, Mr. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat. I heard the tape is absolutely false and fraud tape. And before going for the investigation, they have lodged a FIR against him. Why? Because Mr. Ashok Gehlot is lodging FIRs on his leaders only, Sachin Pilot, including so many ministers.
No, you're saying that the tape is fake.
Now he included
the tape
BJP
that names
leader also.
Your union minister is fake.
Of course.
So how will we know whether it is fake or real if there is an investigation? And when will the investigation happen when there is an FIR?
So he should go. Our minister said that he can go through any investigation, but before going for investigation, he take the name of the honorable minister. Why? To defame him and to find out that the BJP
you did not answer my question. Dr. Rajoria, my question is about the clear markers that this has a BJP imprint.
No markers, sir. No markers. Whatever you are telling me that in Manesar or Haryana they are staying, the BJP is not there.
Cops.
No role of the BJP is there. No, sir, please. 100 cops or police is there. If somebody is asking security, then the state police is responsible to give
dispensation
security
lawyers
to them.
For the service of Sachin Pilot.
No, lawyers, sir, lawyers is the matter. Lawyers is the matter of the choice. Lawyers are the matter of the choice. Not lawyers are lawyers only.
Okay.
Not BJP or
well,
Congress.
Dr. Rajoria,
So
you're trying to make me believe for the past 1 week, the BJP is trying to make us believe that all of this is a happy coincidence. Jaiveer Shergill wants to interject, and then Lalitha Kumaramangala. Jaiveer.
You see, the BJP is behaving like a classic thief who, rather than being caught red-handed, rather than saying hands up, I surrender, is making now excuses and taking the alibi excuse. Point number 1, old habits die hard. How come कि जब भी कोई टेप का राज बाहर आता है, भाजपा का उसमें हाथ नजर आता है. Operation Lotus 2008, Operation Lotus 2018, Operation Lotus 2019, Operation Lotus Madhya Pradesh, Operation Manipur, Goa, Uttaranchal. Every time there is a tape in this country, the BJP's voice, role, action is prominent. And this is again Operation Lotus 2020 2.0 after Madhya Pradesh you are seeing. Number 2, tell me one thing. Let's match the conversation with the script which is being played out. On the conversation, Mr. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat said, 8-9 दिन आप लोग वहां रुकिए. Then Bhavarlal Sharma says, तब सामान पहुंच जाएगा. 1 second, I did not interject you, sir. Sir, have the decency. It's a respectable channel.
You are
have the decency.
Mr. Shergill, you are
Have the
not authority. You can say that we were. No, you don't know Mr. Gajendra Singh. I know him personally. This was not voice of the Mr. Gajendra Singh. How Mr. Shergill you can say that he was Gajendra Singh? How you can
Now,
say
that's a fair point.
You are doing
Jaiveer, we will only know once there is an investigation.
How you can say before making investigation, you go for
As a lawyer, would you agree, Jaiveer, that we'll have to first ascertain, we'll have to let the courts prove that this is genuine or not before coming to a conclusion.
Then you can.
Yeah, one moment. I've understood. Jaiveer.
You are not any authority.
You should make your member parliament understand loud and clear. There are many other channels who do this tutu meme debates. I'm younger than him. I have much more capacity in the lungs to outshout him. So let's maintain the basic civility and decency. Yeah. So there is no need to jump like a kitten in a hot tin roof. Number 1. Number 2, my point. Yes, it is an allegation. It is a serious allegation on 2 counts. After Mr. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat says that you stay 8-9 days, how come the Congress MLAs are in the hotel for 8-9 days, and why is Haryana police behaving like personal bodyguards of those Congress MLAs? Point number 1. Point number 2, in law and being a lawyer, direct evidence and circumstantial evidence both prove BJP's hand. If Mr. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat was not involved, why was the first one to make an eager statement, Mr. Sachin Pilot, you're welcome in Camp BJP? I am not playing the role of judge, jury and executioner.
Okay.
But all the direct and circumstantial
evidence. So the point on the markings of the BJP has been made by Jaiveer Shergill. Okay. Lalitha Kumaramangalam, very quickly. Lalitha Kumaramangalam.
Now, please. Now, I'm not here to shout and, trade catchy phrases to try and hide behind the skirts of those words. But let me make a few points. no police from another state can, for example, let's not look at any of the states in the north. Let me give you an example. Police that walk in to any hotel or any place of public, where the public are staying, etc., say from Karnataka into Kerala, do you think the Kerala government would just allow them to do that without any level of coordination, any other sort of message given beforehand, etc.? The rule of the law has to be followed. If the Rajasthan police had wanted to speak to their MLAs who are supposed to be staying in a particular hotel in Haryana, they should have contacted the local police before they tried to do anything of that sort. They didn't. So there's no question here of the hotel being owned by the BJP. It's just located in a state which is currently governed by the BJP. Second, lawyers are not members of any political party. Many, many very famous lawyers have argued for people across the board. Let me remind you, Ram Jethmalani argued the case for the killers of Indira Gandhi. He had no political ideology at that point at all. Senior lawyers have the right to decide whom they want to represent or not.
Sure.
So does any individual have the right to go to any lawyer he wants. Perhaps the person who went to the lawyer you're calling a BJP sympathizer, was approached because he is known to be one of the constitutional experts in this country, one of the top constitutional lawyers of this country.
Okay.
It could just be that. Thirdly, the Congress is playing its own, to its own, as we say, tune in this matter. They are making all sorts of random accusations about the BJP without a shred of proof. Where is the proof? You can name any of our ministers.
Sure. Kumar Ketkar, I want to come to you and then
proof?
Yogen Yadav. One by one. Lalita Kumaramangalam has made a lot of points. Kumar Ketkar, see, the BJP for the past 1 week has been saying, your house is not in order. The Congress's house is not in order. It was not in order in Madhya Pradesh. It was not in order in Rajasthan. And a political party, they're not saying it in as many words, but a political party has seized the opportunity.
Well, actually, house is not in order, even of the BJP. Everybody is in Rajasthan saying that Vasundhara Raje is helping us.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think that BJP's house in order. The question is, if Sachin Pilot has support, at least of 50 people, 60 people, 90 people, the fact is that he has got no more than 20 number of MLAs with him. So why are we discussing whether actually who is right and who is wrong, who is moral, who is immoral? The question is, if Sachin Pilot has such a mass support, who has been considered a actually great hero of Rajasthan, suddenly BJP has found out that he is a hero. Actually, Sachin Pilot was fighting against BJP, calling them communal, calling them majoritarian, calling them authoritarian, calling them destroyers of Babri Masjid. All this he did in the campaign, and suddenly BJP finds tremendous love for him, tremendous affection for him. That itself is enough evidence that they have a vested interest, but that vested interest is not getting fulfilled because Sachin Pilot has not been able to mobilize even 20 MLAs with him. And even if he gets
But that's not the point. Which one of this is true, Mr. Ketkar? Is this over-evaluating your...
The floor will show who is at what value.
Sure it will. Mr. Ketkar.
Discuss the extraneous issues.
Mr. Ketkar, sure it will. But which one of these two statements is true? Number one, a person over-evaluated his popularity, or a house which was deliberately, the accusation is deliberately not kept in order. I'm talking about the Congress. That you left the problem festering for a very long time.
I think this is a completely ridiculous statement. How can anybody deliberately keep his own house in disorder? I think that is a complete nonsense, absolutely absurd statement. House has been in disorder, and that's why Congress got only 44 seats and later on only 52 seats. So House has been in disorder for quite some time. It is not a great news that Congress House is in disorder. It was in disorder in Madhya Pradesh. It was in disorder in Maharashtra, where I come from. And the question is, are they setting it right? And they are setting it right.
Okay.
And BJP realizes
that
if Congress
House Javid, before I come to you, Yogen Yadav.
Is in order, then BJP suffers if the Congress House is in order.
Oh, so BJP suffers if the Congress's house is in order. So then in that case, the Congress must make sure that your house is in order.
That's why BJP is trying to put in.
Okay, Yogen Yadav, you were talking just a short while ago, the larger point, the larger debate on how this is, quote unquote, the murder of democracy. Now, I'm pretty sure Lalita Kumaramangalam and Dr. Rajoria are going to oppose this and will not agree with you one bit. But I want you to present your case.
Sanket, I bring no evidence more than what has already been presented. And honestly, I'm not interested. All I know is that something happened in Madhya Pradesh a few months ago. This is not a one-off case. Something was tried in Maharashtra, just failed. Something happened during the Rajya Sabha elections in Gujarat. We have seen a pattern. And this seems to fall in that pattern. But of course, it goes without saying that this could not have happened if Congress was not crumbling the way it is. A party can be held either by the moral authority of the leader, Congress doesn't have that, or by ideological rigor, which Congress doesn't possess, or it can be held by carrot and stick. Stick Congress doesn't have because it cannot say in the long run you would suffer because people don't see any long run in the Congress anymore. And carrot, it doesn't have because it doesn't have the glue of power. This is why rebellions over ambitions, which are so routine in any political party all the time, acquire the kind of shape that it does.
You know, Yogen Yadav, I want to ask you this question. In your previous avatar as a cephalogist and perhaps even now, don't you think that what you are accusing the present dispensation of, previous dispensations can also be accused of exactly the same, murdering democracy? I mean, there will be case studies that will be presented by the BJP against the Congress.
This is not the first time a central government is intervening in the affairs of state government. Mrs. Gandhi used to routinely do that. Over a decade, she must have done it to dozens of states. And that's the point I'm making, that we are back to Indira Gandhi's days, except that what Congress used to do is what is being done to BJP. And
so
I'm not saying
you are in a way equating Narendra Modi with Indira Gandhi. You mean to say today...
Their style of functioning is very much similar. And Indira Gandhi may have, she almost succeeded in killing democracy. I don't know,
now that's a whole new debate.
Now that Congress would agree, but she almost succeeded in 1977.
How can the Congress agree to this?
The country was somehow saved.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what the BJP is doing now.
Right to reply to Javeer. Javeer, Indira Gandhi equals Modi.
Can I say one thing? I am befuddled and flummoxed as a politician, as a lawyer, and as a citizen. The crux of the arguments given away by the experts on your show is that if my house gets robbed or there is an attempt to robbery, I go to the police station, the cop turns around, say, oh, it is your fault. What happened to your house? Why did you not take care of house? I have not heard this. The cop goes find the bandits, the dacoits, and the robber. And that is why we have the Constitution, the Indian Penal Code. And I have my facts from 2008 onwards till 2020. Is there any year in the calendar where the Bharatiya Janata Party has not used this lotus symbol to hijack and topple the governments? I counted you 4 episodes of Yedurappa, of Madhya Pradesh, Manipur, Goa. Being a lawyer, let me tell you, you open any text law book, the last 3 decisions of disqualification of MLAs for being lured because they were defecting to the Bharatiya Janata Party. Manipur, T.S. Singh minister disqualified by none other than Supreme Court. Karnataka MLAs disqualified by the judgment of Honorable Supreme Court because Yedurappa was saying, ये सारा कुछ central leadership के इशारे पे हो रहा है. Shivraj Singh Chauhan 9 minutes 34 seconds. And last point the respected lady made. She says that BJP has nothing to do with. Madam, there is a FIR in Rajasthan in which Ashok Singh and Bharat Malani are named. They, according to us, they are in BJP industrial cell. Today's conversation, FIR is registered. First FIR, why has the BJP not approached for quashing of the FIR till date? Number 2, you're talking about police being withheld. The day Mr. Pilot and his camp walked out, IT, CBI, the ED raid started, which Rajasthan police stopped them. The fact today Haryana police is acting as a personal bodyguard in
Okay. But see, everything right now, Javi, it will be said that everything right now, in your drawing a parallel. Yes, one moment. We've got Shubrasta, political analyst, also joining us. Hi, Shubrasta. Before I come to you, Lalita Kumara Mangala. Lalita, you know the point that Javeer says that you can put 2 and 2 together. But legally speaking, how do you prove all of this? How do you prove culpability?
First of all, let me say that you can put 2 and 2 together, but 2 and 2 together make 4 and not 20. In this case, it looks like they are sort of extrapolating 2 and 2 about 5 times and making it into 20. I already made my point that for all these accusations, for the FIR, etc., where is the proof? It is not up to, when you file an FIR, well, follow it through. Let your police follow it through. Show us the proof. You can make any wild accusation you want, but unless you have proved it, accusations don't stick. Now, the Congress has, whether they should put their house into order or not, quite frankly, I don't care. I'm not from the Congress. It is up to them to deal with their own internal problems. But it is an old habit, or let me say an old drama of the Congress, to try and shift the blame elsewhere because they don't want to accept their own weaknesses. And that is one of the biggest failures of the Congress in the last 10, 20 years. Other parties have been out of power, not just the Congress. But other parties' leaders have not left the Congress the way their leaders have been doing over the past few years.
Okay.
They need to introspect.
Okay, so you're saying that there are other leaders also
at BJP and hoping that the,
okay, before I come back, you will have to answer this. You'll get a right to reply, Javeer, in just a short moment. Why is it that the Congress and the Congress alone cries and cribs when its leaders leave and accuses the BJP, whereas no other political dispensation does that? No other political party does that. I'll come back to you. You will get a right to reply. Shubhrasta, your opening comment, please.
No, but why Mamata
Yes,
Banerjee
Sanket,
does that?
I am extremely amused that an example from Manipur was being quoted. One should always remember that in Manipur, the Congress MLAs left the Congress and joined the BJP. There's a basic difference. Now here, their leader, Sachin Pilot, has gone on record, has spoken to media houses and has very categorically stated that he's not leaving the Congress party. So I don't know what kind of defection laws are they applying there. It's completely out of line with respect to law. One comment which I would want to make with respect to Yogendra Yadavji's remark is he tries to always paint this conspiratorial picture in front of an audience which is extremely well read, extremely knowledgeable about not just the constitution but also the law of the land. Congress exploding from within, if Yogendra Yadav feels it is the fault of the BJP, then God save his logic. Seriously, God save his rationale and logic. I as a youngster and as somebody who has just ventured into my own analysis on YouTube, I think I just wish Yogendra Yadav well. No political party exploding from within should try and pin responsibility either through its spokespersons or through spokespersons who pretend to be speaking for the Congress on the other side of the political aisle.
Okay, right to reply. One moment. Since comments have been made for Mr. Yogendra Yadav, your quick right to reply.
Did you say the person who spoke just now was an analyst or is she the BJP spokesperson? I'm not sure. I can't see the television right now. Sorry, I'm a little confused about it. Was it the BJP spokesperson speaking right now?
Speak on the rationale of the arguments made, Mr. Yadav. It really doesn't behove you to stoop down to giving personal, remarks like that. Doesn't suit your grey hair at all.
Title or anything.
Sorry.
Because I thought the person has not even heard what I said. I actually said, just to repeat what I said the problem is Congress is unraveling. It is unraveling because it has neither stick to offer nor carrot to offer. It neither has moral authority of its leadership, nor does it have an ideological glue. I thought you may have had an audio problem.
Okay, we'll let this be a little sideline to the debate. I think Yogendra Yadav has got his right to reply. Now, Javeer Shergill. Javeer, you heard the comment of Lalita Kumaramangalam and then Kumar Ketkar. Ruhi Tiwari is also with us. Ruhi Tiwari has also joined us. Yeah.
No, I think I want to make two facts very clear. Shubhrasta ji who said, and they should be clear. Number one, Shubhrasta ji, 24th June 2020, Manipur, 3 BJP MLAs left, 4 NPP MLAs left. A CBI notice was sent to ex-Chief Minister Ibobi, and then you got your flock together. So if a crisis in an organization and the government is the barometer to judge. 1 second, I did not interrupt you. 1 second. 1 second. Why? Listen, if the crisis is a barometer to question the central leadership, then yes, you have given a prime example of Manipur. Number two, I would like to make you aware the notice sent by the speaker is under Schedule 10 to 1A, voluntarily giving up membership. which Mr. Sachin Pilot is challenged. So it is not under any other provisions. Please do your homework, in which we are accusing that not attending meetings, demanding a floor test equals to voluntary giving up membership. That is our complaint, and that we are joining party. Number 3, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, he is respected, he is very senior. Every time he gives sermons of ideology, Congress is unraveling. 2018, when we won the 3 states, he was right there in your shows, and he himself leads a political party. Let him muster the numeric strength of the Congress. Let him match our track record of serving the nation for 70 years. Let him match the track record of churning out leaders who have served the nation, like Mrs. Indira Gandhi or anybody, and then give sermons to Congress.
Okay.
Let's be clear.
Okay. Comments have been made. No. One more. You will get your right to reply, both Yogen Yadav as well as Shubhrasta. But Ruhi Tiwari has just joined us. Ruhi Tiwari is a journalist with The Print. Ruhi, your opening comments on the way the events are unfolding, the masked role, if you were, of the BJP, the fight within the Congress. How should this play out? How should this be seen as playing out?
You know, Sanket, I'm sorry I'm late to the party, so I'm not exactly sure what conversation has happened I joined in.
We'll begin afresh.
From what I can make out, in the last 5 minutes that I heard the conversation, it seems like a Congress versus BJP affair, which really it isn't. It's a Congress versus Congress fight that's happening in Rajasthan. Now, if you're talking about BJP's masked role, or do you really expect a party that is led by people who only want power like Narendra Modi and Amit Shah to not try and capitalize on a situation like this? Of course not. I mean, they would do it. They would do it in any state where they're not in power and they smell some opportunity to topple the government. But essentially, this is not about the BJP. This is something which is a structural problem with the Congress, as Mr. Yadav rightly pointed out. The Congress is unraveling, and there is serious thinking that needs to happen in the Congress. They can't sit and blame the BJP for trying to topple the government as far as Rajasthan is concerned, or even as far as Madhya Pradesh was concerned, because your own people want to leave the party, your own people want to join another party, and not just one person. There's more than one person who wants to do it. So really, this is a problem of the Congress. So let's not even get BJP into the picture.
Interesting.
Except the fact that they probably want to come to power.
Interesting. So Ruhi Tiwari says that the role of the BJP will come in a little later. Let's first talk about the first problem. Point number 1. Let's not jump the queue, Mr. Kumar Ketkar. Mr. Ketkar, can you hear me? Point number 1 is that your house is not in order, and there are people who are willing to jump ship.
I don't understand why my house is not in order. Is so much of a concern. I must fully express my respect for all these people, because anti-Congressism is the bane. Anti-Congressism is politics in India. Anti-Congressism has been every single so-called opposition party. All opposition parties, from Paswan to Trunmul to DMK to Anna DMK to BJD, everybody has been participating in anti-Congress politics. Anti-Congressism has been the bane. Now the point is, Congress has been unraveling according to Yogendra, although it is not now for the first time. It happened in 1969, it happened in 1989, it happened in 1977. Every time the people who are anti-Congress are happy that Congress is unraveling, and Congress never unraveled. After every single crisis that the Congress faced, Congress came out strong. In 1969, perhaps many of you will not remember, in 1969 to 1971 election, you read the newspapers there, everybody ruled out Indira Gandhi completely, that she will be finished. Congress will be finished, Indira Gandhi will be finished. In 1971, she came with a landslide. In 1980, everybody said people have not forgotten emergency, people have not completely forgotten the dictatorship, and therefore in 1980 she can't come back. So there were conclaves in Srinagar,
by that logic,
and finally she came.
Mr. Ketkar, by that logic, the Congress in 2014 got 44 plus. People said the Congress is demolished. The Congress in 2019 got 52.
As everybody expected and everybody wanted, even in 1980, or for that matter, even in 1989. And Congress came back. So every time so-called people who are happy that the Congress is getting unraveled are all the opposition parties. So there is no question of which opposition party. BJP itself is a product. BJP itself is a product.
By that logic, everyone is a product of the Congress. Every political party is a product of the Congress.
BJP is a product of the anti-Congress politics.
Yeah, Javier very quickly wants to come in.
BJP is a party of the anti-Congress politics.
Let me come in, please.
Yeah, Lalita ji. I'll come to you one moment. Javier first and then Lalita.
In fact, BJP is
Mr.
practicing
Ketkar.
more of Ram Manohar Lohiya's line and Jayaprakash's line than their own line. BJP is practicing in terms of politics. Hindutva is their ideological flank, but they are following the practices promoted by Ram
I
Manohar
think it's
Lohia
an
and Jayaprakash
amazing big fight where Mr. Yogendra Yadav says that that Narendra Modi is like Indira Gandhi, and Mr. Kumar Ketkar tells us that that the BJP's policy is exactly like Lohia
one
policy.
thing must be, he said near death of democracy in 1975. But
Can I come in?
We are rediscovering politics
today.
today.
Can I come in?
Okay, Javeer Shergill first. One more.
Indira Gandhi
Okay,
who
Mr.
declared elections
Ketkar.
in 1977.
Let's move on. Okay.
Indira Gandhi
A brief
declared
One second,
question
sir. Can I make
by
my
Mr.
point?
Ketkar. Javeer Shergill now. Yes.
3 quick points. Firstly, the comparison between Mr. Modi and Indira Gandhi ji is unfounded, because Indira Gandhi ji led by vision and Prime Minister Modi is only led by television. Point 1. Point 2, the debate is today that the crime scene is identified, BJP fingerprints are found, BJP's availability on the crime scene is there, but let's not call them the murderer. Please ask the person on whom the attempt to robbery has been made. This is beyond my understanding. Number 3, if leaders leaving is a barometer, when Mr. Modi used to ride Mr. Vaghela's infield, he left the BJP with 40 MLAs. I have a list of Shatrughan Sinha. I have a list of LK Advani. I have a news item of Mr. Murli Manohar Joshi going to Mr. Mohan Bhagwat's house that we are being sidelined in Mr. Modi regime. Kirti Azad, when Shiv Sena, their oldest ally, left the Bharatiya Janata Party, when Nitish Kumar, before doing the Ulta and Palti, came with the Congress, when 48 strength NDA at least lost 12 to 14 parties, I did not hear anybody saying Bharatiya Janata Party is unraveling, it is exploding. Yes, Congress in politics, someday you're the pigeon, someday you're the statue. We have our share of wins and losses, but let's not forget the Bharatiya Janata Party hands today are stained by toppling governments and Operation Lotus again and again.
Statue for a very long time. I think that's the accusation. One more, one by one. Dr. Rajoria has not spoken in a while. Dr. Rajoria, आपने सुना जयवीर शेरगिल ने क्या कहा, कुमार केतकर ने क्या कहा? आपकी पार्टी कांग्रेस पर इतना दबिश क्यों देती है? I mean, why are you so concerned about their implosion?
Vote for कांग्रेस ही रहेगा, कोई मेक इन बीजेपी बचेगा भी कि नहीं? कि सब कांग्रेस को कुछ अपने लोगों पे भरोसा रखिए.
क्या? One moment, Javeer, what are you saying?
I am saying BJP is obsessed with Congressization of the Bharatiya Janata Party. BJP is import from Congress only. Some make in BJP models are left. Don't they have talent pool, trust deficit? कुछ अपने लोगों पे देखिए, आत्मनिर्भर सिर्फ जुमले देने पे, सरकारें बनाने पे, कांग्रेस पे, विधायकों पे निर्भर, थोड़ी आत्मनिर्भरता अपने टैलेंट पे भी देखिए.
आत्मनिर्भर in BJP. One moment. Let's take a comment. I'm glad that the opponents are also smiling. Dr. Rajoria first. Yeah.
Sir, first of all, Mr. Javeer Shergill is saying about the vision versus television. So he's just insulting the democracy and people of the India. The Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi is Prime Minister by the election of the India, people of the India only, not by the television. Okay. First of all, he should be absolutely clear. And vision, he is telling Prime Minister Narendra Modi have a vision. Not only Indira Gandhi or their Congress leader. Congress leaders have lost their vision. That's why Congress have no vision, no faith. There no Karyakarta party workers have no respect for their leader Rahul Gandhi ji. Behind them, you can ask, say even Congress Karyakartas or workers said that Rahul Gandhi, they do not respect for Rahul Gandhi. They do not respect.
No, Rahul Gandhi has also started his internet series.
Yeah, just a minute, sir. Yeah. And the structural problem is within the Congress only. This is fight between Congress only, within Mr. Ashok Gehlot and Pilot.
Sure.
And now Mr. Shergill is coming on the just vision and television. Are you insulting the democracy of India? Are you insulting the voters of the India? Those who votes for the Prime Minister as well as for the all party.
One by one, quick comment. Shubhrasta, Lalita Kumara Mangal.
This is the ideology of the Congress. That's why they lost all the seats. And
one by one. Shubhrasta, running out of time. Shubhrasta and then Lalita Kumara Mangal.
Saket ji, I find it extremely amusing that today on your show we have seen a divided Congress where Mr. Ketkar made a parallel between Narendra Modi and Indira Gandhi, and Javeer was very quick to jump in and correct.
No, that was Yogendra Yadav. That was Yogendra Yadav who made that comparison, by the way. Kumar Ketkar said BJP is like Lohia.
we also saw how BJP's political ideology is now being defined by the Congress. The other point which I quickly want to make is that please understand, in case of Rajasthan, Sachin Pilot has still not left the Congress party unless the Congress says it on national television that they are absolutely okay with Sachin Pilot leaving the party with the MLAs that he has. That's all that I have to say.
Okay.
So there are no false parallels should be brought in.
Okay, but this point,
Manipur
Lalita
and
Kumaramangalam, I think Javeer raised a significant point which will be of interest. The answer will be of interest to a lot of people. The Congressization of the BJP, the number of imports. There is a very high import from Congress in BJP.
Give me a minute to answer that. Sanket, I come from a Congress family, a family that has had 3 generations of central cabinet ministers, governors, etc. from the Congress. I still have a nephew who's there. I'm not saying it with either pride or anger, I'm stating just a fact. I have seen the leftization, if that's what you want to say, of the Congress. When people like my father were poached from the Communist Party of India, etc., to become members of the Congress. So now, perhaps Mr. Shergill is still too young to remember or to know the details of that historical, the ascendancy of the Congress, the leftists, the secular movement, etc., but let's leave that out. The fact is that this is a democracy, as has been said by Mr. Yadav, and on this point, I'm in agreement with him, that the Congress leaders are being, they are being humiliated by others. There's too much infighting. Look at what they've done to Sanjay Jha. Forget Rajasthan. Look at what they've done to Sanjay Jha.
Talk to LK Advani and ML Joshi to understand what humiliation means.
1 minute, do not interrupt.
Talk to LK Advani and ML Joshi to understand what humiliation means.
Young man, please learn to accept criticism. Don't interrupt. You've given us all such lectures about being this and that. Let me finish. You can always rebut later. But let me finish.
Yeah, quickly, please.
Let me speak. Now, that is one point. The fact is that Congress people themselves today seem to be not able to understand whether they have a future in the party or not.
Okay.
The Congress's own people are raising more questions about them than anybody outside. And
but
the
then the BJP should be happy, no?
Is not at all bothered about the Congress at the moment.
No.
We don't need to do anything, Sanket. They're imploding on their own. The BJP does not need to make any effort to help the Congress go downhill.
Then why the effort? The allegation is then why this conscious effort?
The allegation is there.
Press conference after press conference with Congress the target. Okay, running out of time. Ruhi Tiwari's closing comments and then Yogendra Yadav.
Why should we keep quiet when we're being accused of something where there's no proof?
Sure. Ruhi Tiwari as well as Yogendra Yadav. Quick closing comments.
Very quickly, Sanket. I mean, I give it to the bravado of Congress spokespersons to come and defend the party at this point. I know it takes a lot, Javeer, but you can't quite compare the BJP and the Congress. You can't say that you're not saying the BJP is imploding because people are leaving the BJP for 2 reasons. One, BJP is not down and out electorally and politically. Look at the number of seats the Congress has won in the Lok Sabha in the last 2 elections as against the BJP. So BJP is clearly not unraveling. To the kind of people you've mentioned who've left the BJP were really dead weights, and the people who, according to you, have been disrespected by the party are in the, they're not in the Modi Amit Shah camp. Congress, on the other hand, look at the people you've lost. These are people who are youngsters. These are people who are the future of the party, whether it's Sachin Pilot, whether it's Jyotiraditya Scindia, or your key asset in the Northeast, Himanta Biswa Sarma, who, thanks to whom the BJP has completely, spread its wings in the Northeast and the Congress has disappeared in the Northeast. So these comparisons really
I think these points have great merit. What Ruhi is trying to say has great merit. Quick right to reply to Javeer Shergill, but only after we have heard from Yogendra Yadav. Yogen, closing comments, please.
Sanket, I'm happy that congresspersons on the show are as angry with me as are BJP sympathizers. I would have been disappointed otherwise.
Space, no?
I think more importantly, look, we can't waste more time in discussing something as elementary as that. It would not have started but for the weakness within the Congress. And it would not have reached where it reached but for some help from the BJP, which is an illegitimate help. This is elementary. To my mind, and I'm happy that people like Kumar Ketkar are here with some historical memory, sir, it would be utterly inappropriate to see the current unraveling of the Congress as one of those small episodes that happened in 69, 71 or whatever. So something altogether different is happening. Our democracy has already been seriously compromised. we are in the danger of losing our republic. And at that moment, if we also lose our main opposition party, something is happening to our democracy. Let's not be so casual about it.
Okay. Javeer, please, very quickly, right to reply, 10 seconds.
10 seconds, very quickly. Rajasthan government is as solid as a rock of Gibraltar. So Ms. Ruhi's point that we are weak, if we were weak, they would have been successful in destabilizing us. We have the support of 109 MLAs.
All right.
Secondly, no, 1 second.
Yeah.
हिंदी का एक मशहूर कहावत है,
हाँ.
ना मैं गिरा ना मेरी उम्मीदों का मीनार गिरा, पर मुझे गिराने में कई लोग गिराने वाले खुद कई बार गिर गए. 135 वर्ष पुरानी पार्टी है, खड़े हैं.
All right. Javeer Shergill, Lalita Kumaramangalam, Shubhrasta, Ruhi, Lalita Kumaramangalam, Kumar Ketkar, all of you all, Yogen Yadav, thank you so much. And Dr. Rajoria, thank you so much for participating in the big fight.